Interpreter speaking.
Добрий день, друзі. Я вітаю вас у
Good afternoon, dear friends. Good afternoon, dear friends. Welcome to Ukraine Media Center. We are supported by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. Today, you see Olga Atamanova, that is me, and briefly about our schedule for today. At 3 p.m. we'll have Andrei Nebetov in our studio, head of Kyiv Oblast, National Police Director for Kyiv Oblast. We'll discuss with him renewal of police operations in liberated towns and villages in Kyiv Oblast, as well as crimes committed by Russian army in Kyiv Oblast. At 3:30 p.m. in our studio, we'll have a spokesperson of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Colonel Alexander Matuzyanuk. He'll tell you about the current situation, front lines. And right now we have Natalia Humeniuk, first-rank captain, head of Joint Coordination Press Center of Defense and Security Forces in south of Ukraine. Welcome, Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Natalia, could you please tell us what's going on in the south of Ukraine as well as in the Black Sea region? We have all seen this heroic operation of Ukrainian armed forces, which resulted in Moskva cruiser sinking. So could you please tell us what's happening at the moment? Well, the situation in south of Ukraine is indeed tense, stably tense, I would say, because as you rightly said, when Moskva cruiser was hit, it affected not only the ships, it affected Russia's imperial ambitions, the enemy's imperial ambitions. And we, of course, understand that they will not forget it, they will not forgive it. They have complaints, and there have been attacks against us, in particular missile strikes. Last night, there have been missile strikes in the southern part of Ukraine. Currently, Mykolaiv is being shelled, and we see in practice that this is again about using cluster projectiles prohibited by international conventions, and we ask all residents to be very, very cautious and avoid any danger. Remember that the enemy can do various tricks, but generally the situation in Kherson Oblast is as follows. The enemy has been brutally placing its vehicles and personnel in between local civilians and civilian infrastructure sites like schools, kindergartens, local residents' backyards, and then in the night time they would disappear from those positions. They would leave towns and villages and shell against those sites, civilian sites, and then accuse Ukrainian armed forces, saying that Ukrainian armed forces shell on local civilians. But we know who tells the truth and who tells the lies, and we know that Ukrainian armed forces never shell at innocent civilians. So such actions are conducted by the enemy in particular to somehow justify their status, to say that they're liberators, as they call themselves. But we thank local residents. They're conscious people, pro-Ukrainian people, they're for Ukraine, and they understand the enemy's manners and the enemy's brutal actions, and they understand where is the truth and who does what. And only jointly with our local residents, Ukrainian armed forces will be able to liberate all those territories based on the consciousness of our citizens. That's the situation at the moment. Thank you, Natalia. Could you please tell us, if possible, a couple of words about this special operation itself? We all saw that by yesterday evening, even Russia, even that aggressor country, recognized that the cruiser has sunk. Could you please tell us something about this operation, if possible? What we can tell you at the moment is this. Indeed, there has been a combat operation against the group of ships, and indeed the flagship of Russian Black Sea Fleet, Moskva cruiser, has been hit. This is quite symbolical, and the ammunition detonated there in that cruiser, which emphasized that they have been loaded with armor to keep destroying Ukraine, but Ukrainian armed forces have done quite a symbolical thing. They have hit the cruiser. As a result, ammunition detonated, and of course they started struggling for survival. We saw other ships trying to help that cruiser, but even the nature was on Ukrainian side. There was a storm in the sea, and it did not allow them to carry out that rescue operation nor evacuate the personnel. Unfortunately, we cannot tell you all the details. We don't have all the reliable data, and we only tell the truth. We only tell you what we know at the moment. We have information that the damage has been so significant that this ship has lost its combat capacity. Now we'll be waiting for final confirmation, because even the statements by the aggressor country are not the absolute evidence. Thank you, Natalia. Now there will be questions from our studio. Please speak into the microphone and introduce yourself. Good afternoon. I'm from Formula TV, Georgian TV channel.
How it will change situation on Black Sea, and will it have any influence on the battles on the south of Ukraine and maybe Azov Sea and Mariupol? How do you see the future regarding to Moscow down, after Moscow down? Дякую.
Thank you for your question. Yes, the matter is, the way we see this theater of operation and how the enemy sees it, these are different things. But we all understand that attacks will increase, that the enemy will try to retaliate. We understand it. We are aware of it. We understand that it will include rocket strikes and probably artillery shelling, and we don't exclude any attempts at landing operation, because this angry enemy can now even be moving to hell, and our local residents are welcoming the enemy to that hell, and we are ready. We are ready, we are resisting, we understand all the threats that we have. Of course, for the enemy, this has been a significant loss. You have all seen the financial consequences, the financial cost, and in terms of weapons, you understand what this loss means. And there is also this image loss. This is a hybrid war, and we understand that there is also some impact on the minds, which is also important. So we understand that this has been quite a persuasive victory, but this is victory in a battle, not in the war as a whole, but we are moving toward that victory. Thank you. Any more questions? Natalia, I cannot but ask you, maybe you could tell some more details about the situation in Kherson Oblast. We are all very much worried about what's going on there, and we have all been watching those events on the boundaries of Kherson Oblast. We saw that some towns and villages, our armed forces managed to retake them, and maybe you have some new information about events there. Indeed, the situation there is not simple and easy. It's difficult, but Natalia, can you hear us? We don't hear me. Can you hear us? You know, you disappeared. Your sound disappeared. Now it's back. So we are all sure, absolutely sure, that very soon our troops will advance. But at the moment, we are checking the positions we have managed to liberate. And also in Kherson area, we see reconnaissance groups. One of such groups was defeated, destroyed this night when they tried to do some reconnaissance against our positions. All defense and security forces in the south have been engaged, and they work in a quite effective way. Although the enemy does not surrender, indeed, the enemy uses artillery and mortar shelling, and also psychologically they try, in Kherson, according to our data, they continue their propaganda towards making this local quasi-republic, which does not exist, but they try to carry out some propaganda. I'd like to thank the residents of Kherson for their courage and for their position for Ukraine. Stay strong. We'll soon be with you. Yes, indeed, Kherson has been resisting in such a way that we are all very proud of that resistance. We see that resistance by local civilians. But we have got another question. You're welcome.
We all are waiting for the second phase from the east and from the south, from attack on Ukraine from the Russian forces. What do you see on the ground? Is there any strategic movements from Russian troops, and how can you evaluate the situation in whole, in strategic view, on the southeast of Ukraine regarding to Russian arms moving on there?
Well, at the moment, indeed, the situation has been changing in a very dynamic way, and we are directly involved in it. So, I don't think it's expedient for me to comment on it, because as soon as we get any results of those actions by both ourselves and the enemy, we will report on those. We regularly inform our citizens about what's going on, because we understand that only with joint efforts we will be able to win over this enemy. Natalia, I'd like to thank you very much for finding time and joining us on air. Thank you for your service. Stay safe, stay strong. And dear friends, we are to continue at 3 p.m. in our studio. We'll have Andrei Nebetov, head of Kyiv Oblast Directorate of National Police.